Have you ever looked at an editor's work and thought,
How are they making videos that look this good?
Maybe you spent months learning new effects, downloading plugins, watching tutorials, and yet somehow your videos still don't look like the work of editors charging thousands of dollars per project. The reason is simple. Most people think editing is one skill. It isn't. Editing is actually a ladder, and every level requires a completely different way of thinking. The editor making anime edits on CapCut isn't solving the same problems as the editor running content for a seven-figure creator. And that creator's editor isn't solving the same problems as someone building motion graphics for global brands. They're all called editors, but they're playing completely different games. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 7 levels of editing, show you exactly where you are right now, what skills separate each level, and most importantly, the level where you can realistically start making money. And trust me, it's a lot earlier than most people think. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1. This is where almost everybody starts. You're on CapCut. Mostly you're using templates. You're making TikTok edits, gaming clips, football montages, or whatever trend is blowing up that week. And honestly, that's fine. People love to clown on beginners, but every editor you've ever looked up to started somewhere. The problem isn't being at level 1. The problem is staying there, because at this level, you're not really making shit yet. You're using templates that kids use and maybe single moms making reels for Facebook. The template decides the transitions. The template decides the effects. The template decides everything. You're just throwing shit together without knowing how it works, which is why charging money at this level is impossible. The good news is that escaping level 1 is actually easier than most people think. A decent editing software, a few tutorials, some practice, and suddenly you enter a completely different world. But that's where most people hit their first trap, because learning software feels like progress, even when it isn't. Level 2, the software editor. Now you've upgraded. Maybe you're using Premiere Pro, maybe DaVinci Resolve. You know how timelines work. You understand keyframes. You've probably watched enough tutorials to fill an entire playlist. And for a while, it feels amazing. Every day you're learning something new, a new effect, a new shortcut, a new transition. The problem is that software knowledge creates a dangerous illusion. You think learning more will make you a better editor. Trust me, it doesn't. Clients care about the result, not the effect. And that's why editors who actually make money don't necessarily know the most effects. They're the ones who make content easier to watch. Level 3, the functional editor. Yeah, now this is the level where money starts entering the conversation. Not life-changing money, but enough to prove that your skill has value. You start editing YouTube videos, podcasts, maybe content for local businesses or small creators. At this level, you've learned one of the most important lessons in editing. Nobody cares about your effects if the video is boring. So you focus on removing pauses, cleaning mistakes, making the story easier to follow. And because of that, people are willing to pay you. But there's a mistake almost every level 3 editor makes. They think 10 hours of editing should equal 10 hours of pay. But clients don't buy hours, they buy videos. And that is the thing that keeps people stuck. Because the editors who level up stop asking, how long did this take me? And start asking, what is this worth to the client? And that's where editing starts becoming interesting. Because getting to level 4 is not about editing, it's about psychology. Level 4, the hook editor. This is the level where you stop editing videos and start editing attention. You begin understanding pacing, how hooks work, why some creators hold attention for 10 minutes and some for 30 seconds. You learn techniques like J-cuts, match cuts, beat cuts, visual resets. But more importantly, you learn why they're used. Suddenly, your videos don't just look better, they perform better. People watch longer. And most importantly, clients notice. But there is still something missing. The moment you discover creativity, everything changes. Which brings us to level 5, the creative editor. This is the most exciting level, yet the most dangerous. Because this is where you discover style. Transitions become cooler, color grading gets heavier, every project becomes an opportunity to show off. And honestly, it feels great. The problem is, at stage, are creating videos that please editors, not the viewers. Every scene tries to scream for attention, and eventually, clients ask this one question: what the fuck is this mess? Make it cleaner or we're done. Because clients want videos pleasing to watch and not full of effects, and understanding that distinction changes everything. Because the next level isn't about adding more, it's about learning to stop. Level 6, the premium editor. This is where you realize editing alone isn't enough. You start learning motion design, typography, color theory, animation principles, and how to make graphics actually fit the content rather than sitting on top of it. Your videos start looking cleaner, more professional, and more expensive. But most editors get stuck here. The moment they learn motion design, they start putting it everywhere. Every title's animated, every scene has graphics, every second is trying to grab attention. And ironically, that's what makes the video feel cheap. The breakthrough comes when you realize that less is more, but the less has to be perfect. And once you understand that, your videos stop looking edited and start looking designed, which leads to the final level, the partner. Most people don't notice, but this is the level where editing becomes secondary. Because at this point, clients aren't hiring you for your ability to cut clips together. They're hiring you because you understand how content works. You understand storytelling, marketing, and psychology. You understand why people click, why they stay, and why they leave. At this level, you're not waiting for a client to tell you what to do anymore. You're helping shape the entire strategy. Because the reality is, creators don't care about editing, they care about growth. Businesses don't care about transitions, they care about results. And the editors who make the most money understand that better than anyone. That's why level 7 editors usually aren't charging for hours, and they're not charging for projects. They're taking revenue cuts. Because they've positioned themselves as something far more valuable than an editor, they've become a partner. And once you reach that point, you're no longer getting paid for what you do. You're getting paid for what you know, what you bring to the table, and how you piece everything together. Because the highest paid editors in the world aren't necessarily the best at moving clips around a timeline. They're the best at creating outcomes. So now you know the 7 levels of editing. And if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's that you don't need to reach level 7 before you start taking action. Most people can start making money around level 3, but they spend months trying to become the perfect editor before they ever try getting a client. Don't do that. The fastest way to improve isn't another tutorial. It's real projects, real deadlines, real feedback, and real mistakes. And whatever you do, don't compare yourself to a level 6 or 7 editor. Compare yourself to people at your current level and focus on becoming the best editor you can be right now. Because that's how real progress happens, one level at a time. And if you want to learn the exact techniques and motion design principles that separate level 6 and level 7 editors from everyone else, subscribe, because that's what I'll be covering in the next video. I'll see you there.